My name is Ben Worley. If you haven't met me before, I'm the student pastor here. Thank you. I always got to get a good shout from my leaders. I love that. Love being with you this morning. We're just going to really dive right into it. I don't have any two major student ministry updates, although we did actually just shift our programming a little bit. So if you want to hear about that, I'm just saying, feel free to ask me, okay, as a parent. We're pretty excited about it. I think we're really being intentional with what God's giving us with our students and things like that. But we've been in the book of Luke, and we're going to continue that today. And if you've been with us during this time, Jesus really wants and really is trying to show us, he wants everyone to become more into their true selves. And he does this through holding up a mirror to each person. And we see the religious leaders is actually who he does it to the most. We've seen that in the last weeks. We saw it with the parable last week where he challenges them and he says, hey, there's going to be a banquet. And when the invites get sent out, everyone's saying, okay, I'm going to be there. And then when the second invite comes out, they say, no, they make excuses not to come. And so then the master says, you know what, just bring whoever you can then. And what we see is the ones that get to experience the banquet are actually those who are outcasted, marginalized, pushed aside. And what's fascinating is he was holding a mirror to the religious leaders, and now he is literally just looking at the crowd, the large crowd, and just holding a mirror to all of them. So if you want to think like he's pointing a little mirror to them, now he's holding a huge mirror to the crowd. And he wants them and he wants us to really think through, is it worth following Jesus? And I think a lot of us would say, of course, yes, it is. And he says, okay, hang on. Don't just say yes. Like, take some time. The sermon title that I'm really picking today is called Full Disclosure. For this reason, if you've ever seen a pharmaceutical commercial, they give a great full disclosure, right? You get to see the benefits, like, man, there's this problem, and then there's this amazing moment where they find out about this, and now they're smiling, everything's shining, it's an exciting time, all smiles, and that's when you get to the end of the commercial where you actually get the rest of the information, right? You get all the side effects that just go one after another, and it reveals the full disclosure of what you're taking. And as a student ministry, me and some of the Revive students really wanted to give you a picture of what this would look like if one of the disciples were to give you a full disclosure based on our culture as of the 21st century. So feel free to enjoy our little video for you.
Like many of us, he's been struggling with stress, anxiety, and an overwhelmingly sense of emptiness. He's tried everything: social media, binging Netflix, even essential oils. But nothing seems to work. He's not happy, and it feels like no matter what he does, there's always something missing. He's just stuck. Have you ever felt this way? Like you're going through the motions of life, searching for peace, but never finding it? As if you're walking on a path of life with no direction, no motivation, almost as if your path is beginning to get narrower because life continues to throw hardship. Well, we got the perfect solution for you. We want to introduce to you Jesus. You see, Jesus is the answer to everything. He's the ultimate solution to your stress, your anxiety, and your lack of purpose. With Jesus, you get more than just a good day. He brings an eternal peace that no self-help book or app can ever bring. Imagine waking up each day with a sense of calm, knowing that you are loved unconditionally. No matter what flaws, mistakes, or past failures you have, Jesus accepts you for who you are. With him, you find your purpose and direction. And it doesn't stop there. He offers you a deep sense of community. With him, you'll gain new friends, find a support system that truly cares, and discover a life of meaning beyond what you ever imagined. So here's how it works. When you accept Jesus into your life, you're not just accepting a religious figure, you're embracing a new way of living. His teachings transform you from the inside out, providing clarity, joy, and the strength to face life challenges. Plus, you get the ultimate bonus, eternal life with God. And so with Jesus, you can find joy in serving others, overcoming personal struggles, and living a life filled with hope. He will show you how to treat someone with dignity and how to care for those who are marginalized. His peace isn't just a fleeting feeling, it's a lasting change that renews your mind and spirit.
When following Jesus, potential challenges can include the need to deny yourself, forget about living for your own desires, possible division with loved ones. Jesus warns that following him may cause strife between you and your family or friends, exclusion from all social circles. Your faith may alienate you from friends, colleagues, or even your own community. The challenge of carrying your cross. Being a Christian means facing personal sacrifice and suffering. It's not just about spiritual highs. There will be times of struggle and doubt. Facing trials and temptation. The following Jesus means consistently battling your own sinful nature. Persecution and ridicule. Accept hardship, criticism, and even persecution because of your faith. Being hated by the world. Jesus said, if the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first.
I know. Special shout out to Jack, Jonah, and Lily for helping us out with this video, especially Jonah for doing the editing. Well done. And I hope that was a good laugh for you, because honestly, we're going to be laying out our time today as though it was a pharmaceutical commercial, seeing the side effects, but instead, here's what you see here, is you kind of see that it goes quickly. There's still happy music, so it's kind of trying to draw your attention away. And that, honestly, is not what Jesus is doing. And I think it's really gracious. Like, he's not just beating around the bush or trying to avoid something. He is honest. He shows the benefits of following him, but he also lays out the hardships of following him. He's honest about these hardships, and he does not shy away. And so he wants us to see them and then to take some time and make a decision if this is worth it or not. But he doesn't use an ad or a celebrity endorsement to have us follow him. He's not trying to bait and switch us. He actually does the opposite. He graciously lays out a full disclosure of the side effects of following him. Then he actually challenges us to ponder if following him is worth it to us or not. So today he wants us to slow down, think it through, and decide if this is really worth it. So let's look at what he says in this full disclosure by looking at the side effects. So if you guys want to turn with me, we're going to look at Luke 14:25. We're going to see, what does it mean? What is the cost of following Jesus? Here's what it says. Now the great crowds accompanied him, and they turned and said to them, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not bear his own cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid down a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it mock him, saying, the man began to build and was not able to finish. Or what king, going out to encounter another king in war, will not sit down and first deliberate whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who against him with 20,000? And if not, while the other is yet a great way off, he sends a delegation and asks for terms of peace. So therefore, any of you who does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciple. Salt is good. It is. But if salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? If it is of no use either for the soil or for the manure, and it is thrown out, he who has ears to hear, let him hear. Yeah, so I'm excited because this is a very easy topic, right? I mean, so we're just going to dive right into it. What is Jesus actually saying? What is he clarifying? He is clarifying a full disclosure, and he wants us to listen. Yes, notice the benefits of following Jesus, but at the same time, notice the side effects of following him. When he's speaking to the crowd, he's actually not just speaking to just new believers or to believers that have been following him for a long time. He's speaking to both of them, and he wants them to do one thing. He wants them to commit, and he wants to be their first priority. And he says that in two specific moments. Now, here's the difference between Eastern and Western culture, is Jesus points out one thing, and then he points out another thing, and then he talks about a parable about this one, and then he goes on about this one, okay? We don't process that way, so we're actually going to look at it a little bit differently, okay? So as we dive into this, he begins talking about, if anyone comes to me. If anyone comes to me, notice that language. He's trying to show, if anyone approaches me. Like, this is the first decision that has to happen, is we have to come into a relationship with Jesus. We have to say, I'm going to follow you. So he says, hey, if anyone comes to me, okay, here's what they have to do. Here's the side effect that's actually going to happen. You're going to have to hate your father, your mother, your wife, your children, your brothers, your sisters, yes, even your own life. And I don't know about you, but when I hear that, I'm like, what? Like, that sounds terrible. I don't want to hate the people I love. Like, I don't hate my dad and my mom, like my wife, my children. Like, that's brutal. And if any of you know, Tori and I actually just recently had a baby. I know. Got to give her a shout out. Her name is Jenny. She's 5 months. Here's a picture of her. I mean, look at that face. I don't want to hate her. I don't think Jesus does either. So what is he trying to say here? He's not asking us to hate our families. He's asking us to prioritize him above everything else. In an Eastern culture, family was central. Family was the biggest priority. And so this message was radical and significant to the people hearing it, because he's saying, I want to be first. And he's saying, in Israel, it would have costed you something to follow Jesus, to actually choose in this moment to follow him. It would have cost you family. It would have cost you going to the synagogue. You would have been excommunicated. It would have cost you your community. You could have lost family support, jobs, even faced rejection from loved ones. Like, it was not an appealing thing. And so he's pointing it out here to say that, because you see that this actually happens to some people that follow him. Mary, his mother, is at the crucifixion. She's watching Jesus be crucified, and he makes this comment to her and says this to John. He says, John, please take care of my mom. It's really what he's saying. Why would he say that? Because the community won't take care of her anymore. Her family won't take care of her anymore. Her own children won't take care of her anymore. And so he's saying, John, please take care of my mom, because now that she believes that I am the Messiah, and she does believe that, she is not going to have any community. She will not be cared for. He's saying this to be clear of the cost of following him. You must choose him over everything. And I think we understand this to some context, and I also think, to kind of take a step back, I really think he's just saying, say goodbye to those things that pull you away. Like the things that you prioritize. If he's pulling out a full disclosure, he's saying, okay, if you come to me, then you must let go of what you're holding on to. I think of like letting go of a kite, right? Like letting it go and leaving it to be. This is the side effect, that you must let go of other priorities in your life. We have other priorities that we always love to walk with Jesus, but we also would love to hold our iPhone while we do it. Or I love Jesus, I'd love to walk with him, but like I also really like clothes. Or I love my family so much, I might actually just keep that even with Jesus. Or sports, or my kids, or my career. I mean, that goes on and on and on. And Jesus is calling those of us in this spot, and he's saying, if you're saying, I want to follow you, then you need to think about what you're prioritizing, because if you don't, then you're going to actually be the same as the guest from last week. You're just going to make excuses not to come to the banquet. So you're not going to experience it. And so he's challenging them. He's challenging them to evaluate, is it worth the cost? Is it worth the side effects? And when he's describing this, he actually then gives a picture, and he says, okay, let's hypothetically say that you don't want to prioritize, or that you actually want to prioritize your mom or your dad or something else equally to Jesus. What will that then look like? I'm glad you asked, and Jesus is too. He describes a tower, and he says this. He says, for which of you, desiring to build a tower, does not sit down and count the cost? Of course you would, whether he has enough to complete it. Otherwise, when he has laid down the foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build, but was not able to finish. I love this because I don't know, how many of you were building a tower this week? Not probably many. Oh, great. Okay, we got one. But most of us don't. And honestly, here's what I came upon this video that literally just shows a real life example of what Jesus is talking about.
How you doing? Taylor here from Couple More Days Construction. A lot of people have been asking me, Taylor, what does couple more days construction mean? Well, let me show you. You see this hole here? We had a plumbing leak, and I had to open up the drywall. And then I thought, well, as long as I got the ceiling opened up, why don't we go ahead and switch this old lighting to some can lights? So I put 4 more holes in the ceiling. And then you know what I did? I started building this outdoor kitchen. Because at a couple more days construction, we're always almost done with a lot of things.
I was like, that's exactly what Jesus is saying, right? It's like, I mean, we have all those people who are a couple more days of construction workers, right? It's obviously never us, but we do know people who experience this. And what happens? They start projects, but then they just leave them. Why? Because there's too many priorities. They start the lights, and then they're like, you know what? I should just do the deck too. And what happens? Nothing happens. That's the problem. They get too excited. And as a result, people come to their house and say, hey, honestly, this is pretty funny. Like, this video is literally somebody mocking us for not finishing our projects. And Jesus is saying, I need you to realize that if you don't count the costs, you're going to be like this project that was started, and then it never gets finished, and people are going to mock you because of it. Now, what is this project? That's a great question, too. It's the restoration project of forming your heart from being from being hard to being soft. And he's saying, if you want to be in this project, it's going to take all of your life until you see me next. But if you begin the process and you prioritize other things, and then you just kind of stop, people are going to notice. So he's saying this, if this goes wrong, if Jesus isn't your priority, then the restoration project of your heart will actually never be completed. And it can't progress being completed if he is not your priority. So what happens if we choose to come to Jesus? Like we begin to experience the benefits, but we ignore the side effects. We don't fully commit because we let other things like work or family or technology or spouse take the place of Jesus. What happens is we become these projects that never get finished. We end up looking like the unfinished basement that exists. We look like the unfinished remodel of a kitchen that just sits there because the cabinets weren't quite right. Like we're the deck that never quite gets done, or honestly my favorite, half-painted walls. Like that's what we become, and people will see that. He's saying people will notice. And I'll be honest, I am blown away by how much I think people aren't noticing what my first priorities are. Like as if what I do with my free time does not reflect my character. As if my life does not lay out exactly what I care about. My time, my attention, my energy. It shows all that you care about. It's very obvious. And if you really want to have a challenge, like I would grab a mirror and ask someone to put a mirror in front of your face and say, do I actually prioritize? If you really want to go super far, ask your kids. I know it's hard, but they'll be really honest of, hey, what do you think I love the most? They'll tell you. You might not like the answer, but that's okay. That's what being a shepherd is actually showing our weakness first and allowing them to be brought into it. And so Jesus is challenging us. He's saying, if you want to come to me, you must let go of everything else. So, is it worth the side effect for you? Like, is this worth it? Then the next side effect he names is bearing your cross, which is a very light subject because the cross was this tool that was used for death and destruction. It was this big piece of wood. It wasn't quite like the lights, right? Like it was huge, it was heavy, it was intense. And in Luke's gospel, he actually says, bear your cross, where in Matthew's during this time, he actually says, if you're willing to bear your cross, which I find is interesting because Luke isn't talking about if you're willing to grab it. He's saying, no, like this is, once you make that one-time decision, it's a continual process now to carry your cross. Like it's a process of self-denial. You see, Jesus is on is on this journey to the cross at this moment. He's on this journey to Jerusalem, and he's inviting us to walk with him crossward. But the side effect is honestly pretty obvious. Bear your cross and choose self-sacrifice. And in doing this, you will actually find the good life. And so in his full disclosure, he says, if you come to me, then you need to choose to bear your cross. And I don't know about you, but the thing is, I really want Jesus, but I really don't want the side effect. Like, I really don't. I love this. John Mark Comer said this, and I just don't know if I could put it a better way. I want to be generous, and I would love to be rich at the same time. Like, I want to have character, but I don't really want to have suffering. I want to have humility, but I don't want to be humiliated and be in humiliation. Like, I want patience, but I don't want to wait. I want to be kind, but I don't want to be around people that annoy me on a regular basis. Just saying, I want to hear God's voice, but I don't want to get up early to hear it. Like, I want the life of Jesus, but I don't want to take up the cross with Jesus. And I think this is a very intense example, and I think it takes time, and I believe Jesus knew that. And so the question then is, how do we bear our cross? Like, how do we get to this point where, honestly, if we had to be persecuted, if we had to carry this thing that is so intense, how could we get to that point? I don't know if you've ever asked yourself that, but I ask it all the time. Like, what if persecution came to America? Would I be able to actually respond the right way? We're in this book right now called 40 Days of Decrease, and it's all kind of leading up into Easter and this Lent season. And I love, she put this in terms of walking crossword. She says, this is Alicia Cole, she says this: crossword is a commitment that passion may make, but love can keep. You see, crossword is a commitment that passion can make, but love can keep. The disciples started with passion. They were drawn to Jesus' miracles and his character, but passion alone is not enough to follow him. Over time, you need the love to come alongside it. You see, their love grew stronger and stronger, and because of this, they were actually able to carry their own crosses. Like, the process of denying yourself is gradual. There's small moments of saying, okay, I'm going to choose something different than myself. I'm going to choose others. I'm going to choose God instead. And because when you do that enough times, you will be able to actually endure persecution. And I say that as a fact because the disciples did it. You look at what happened to them, most of them got persecuted. And it's like, how did they get to that point? Because they had so many gradual little moments of self-denial. And what I find interesting is that in this passage at the very end in 33, Jesus specifically notes a way that you can continue to deny yourself. He says, any one of you who does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciples. Why would he say this? Like, why add this? Because possessions often are these moments of moments of not denying to yourself that allows you not to get to this place of bearing your cross. He says possessions serve as a barrier for full discipleship because it ties us to the world's values and distractions. Like in the student ministry right now, we're looking at the Sermon on the Mount, and we just started in like only the Beatitudes, and that's it. Blessed are the poor, blessed are those who mourn, blessed are those who are meek. How are they blessed? What is he saying? He's saying that what the world values and what the kingdom values as a blessing are very different. You see, I grew up not needing to worry about food. I honestly have never had to worry about that. And I'm sure some of you are in this place too. My dad had a good job. We had a nice house. I have an amazing wife. I have a daughter, a new home. And you would look and see, man, the world would say, I am blessed. The kingdom would say, I am in danger. Why? Because you are in danger of actually being able to carry your cross in self-denial. And as a result, you won't be able to taste what the good life is really like. That's why he says the poor are blessed, because they can focus on not the things that are not important, but they can focus on the right priority without getting so distracted like we do. And Jesus knows this, and he knows that our possessions and taking away and saying, okay, I don't need this, or I don't need this, or I don't need this, those are micro moments of self-denial that help us to carry our cross. And so he wants us to check the side effects. He says, do you love me enough to deny yourself in 1,000 little ways in your life of self-denial? Like, do you love me enough? Is it worth it? Are you willing to have less possessions so that you can experience life to the full? And so you get this picture that he lays out, and then he shares just this really fun picture. He says, well, okay, what if you think, all right, it's worth it, but you know what? I think after a while, if the suffering gets hard, or I just don't want to endure, and I just bail out, like, what happens then? And he says, well, actually, you'll be like a king. And he says this, or of what king going out to encounter another king in war will not sit first and deliberate whether he is able with 20,000? And if not, while the other is yet a great way off, he sends a delegation and asks for terms of peace. So therefore, any of you who does not renounce all that he has cannot be my disciple. So if a king is going into battle and he's preparing for battle and he has half the amount of troops, what does he do? He evaluates, he thinks, is this actually smart? Do I have the right troops for this? Like, is it going to be reckless to just walk into battle? He would evaluate, do I have enough troops? He would be asking hard questions like, will any of them make it back? If they don't make it back, was it worth it? Could there be a peace treaty that we could actually resolve this issue or tension? Here's what I think he's really trying to pull, talking about a king, though, is that the decision the king makes does not just affect him. The decision the king makes actually affects him. It affects the city that he's leaving, whether it's going to be captured or protected. It affects every troop because they're offering their lives. It affects the children because that matters of who they're going to grow up with. Like, I believe Jesus is using this parable to show the gravity of this decision for us. Now, given the gravity of this is, man, what if the king makes a really good decision and it all goes well? All of those people that I just named off, they're all going to benefit from it. And I think as following Jesus, you actually can see a lot of benefits to bearing your cross. Like, because people have chosen to follow Jesus, marriages have been saved. Families have come closer together. People have found their purpose. People have found community and connection. But at the same time, he lays out this full disclosure, this side effect of choosing to bear your cross, and says, but if you're not sure, like if you say yes, but then you're hesitant and just not positive, here's what's going to happen. It's not just going to affect you. It's going to affect those around you. It's going to affect everyone around us. You see, if we choose to follow him, we're still unsure. This will hurt the people we lead. And I'm sure you've seen this. I feel like Christians get mocked a lot for this when someone preaches something and then they just bail out on it. And you see this with, like, a pastor can do that, where they direct your attention to Jesus and then they're like, you know what, I think I'm just done when trials get really hard. Or you see this when someone leads someone else to faith and you're like, wow, this was so cool. And then you, a couple of years later, realize, oh, they're not following Jesus anymore. Like, that affects the people they led to faith. Or as a parent, honestly, this is hard because as a parent, if we're not stepping into self-denial, it will affect our families. And I think we like to think, well, I'm not totally sure. It will affect the people around you. And so he's trying to have us take a step back and say, is it worth it for you? Like, is this worth it? Is bearing your cross worth it? And so he finishes by telling us the results if we decide to say, yes, they are worth it. The side effects are totally worth it. I'm ready. I'm prepared. I think we can do this. Here's what he says in 34. He says, salt is good. And you know what? Jesus, salt is good, right? Like, I love that he starts this way because salt is really good. Like, it's used for seasoning, for fertilizer, for preserving things. Jews would actually use salt underneath what they were cooking so that it could cook faster. And when when you couldn't use it anymore, then they would just kind of toss it out. And that's what Jesus is actually talking about here. He's saying if you don't contemplate these decisions, you can live your life as you are useless salt. What a bummer it would be if you knew Jesus for your whole life, and yet you became a salt that has no purpose and no use. Like to decide to follow him and say, you know what, I'm going to choose this, but then to simply leave the restoration project of your heart for a different priority. To decide to follow Jesus and then simply carrying your burdens and choosing to endure suffering, and yet when it really gets hard, and you say, no, I'm done with this, I just don't want to do it anymore, you realize it actually doesn't just affect those around you. It's like you are a king abandoning your troops. You are abandoning those you are leading. This is Jesus' full disclosure. And it's pretty intense. It really is. But I want you to actually slow down, because I think that's what Jesus wanted for you too. And I want to put up two questions for you. Because I don't think Jesus just said, hey, just say, you know what? Yes, I'm ready to do it. I don't think he said, yes, I'm ready. Like, he's like, whoa, hang on a second. Just take a moment and contemplate these decisions. Is Jesus worth starting this journey with, even if it means saying goodbye to those things that pull you away from him? Like, is he worth that? Is he worth coming after, even if that means bearing your own cross and enduring suffering? Is he worth it? Like, he lays out both of these to say that to you, and I don't want you to answer yes quickly. I don't think he does either. He's encouraging us with these examples, take your time in understanding the full disclosure. He's giving this grace of not trying to manipulate us, but just to say, this is the reality of what happens when you follow me. So is it worth it? He's saying, don't say yes early, because if you say yes too early, then you're like an unfinished project. And he says, don't say yes too early to this either, because if you say yes too early, you can be like a king who leads others to a straight path only to have them hurt. And so he says, is this worth it? And I don't know, maybe just close your eyes for a second and just take a moment to really decide, like, is it worth it for you? Something I heard about confession lately is that confession is just telling the truth, and I think that's what he wants. If you're like, no, I think Jesus is like, okay, now we can start actually being honest with each other. If you're like, yes, then he's like, okay, I think we can start moving forward then. Because here's what's fascinating. At the very end, and I love this, because if you have a Luke journal, it looks like it ends right here, and it really does. But in verse 15:1, we get to actually find out who was the useful salt. Who were those people? Like, who are the ones who would hear and obey Jesus' teaching? And this is what's fascinating. It's the ones that were described in the Sermon on the Mount. Like, it's the ones that you would least expect. It says this in Luke 15:1, if you want to look with me. It says, now the tax collectors and the sinners were drawing near to him. And then the Pharisees and the scribes grumbled. So my question is, how do we be like the tax collectors and the sinners? Like, how do we stay salty? I want to be that. I think he lays it out very, very clearly. You need to count the cost. You need to decide if this is worth it. And then you need to actually go and live it out. Because you can't just say yes. You need to actually do something about it. Now, I want to just give you one last just question. I already kind of hinted at this for a moment. But this last action step, if you're like, honestly, I don't really know for myself. That's okay. Actually, I don't think all the time we have to come up with the answers on our own. I think God invites community around us and the Holy Spirit and other people that can tell you the answer for you, especially if you don't want to ask it alone. Because I think it's a pretty hard question. So this is what I challenge you with, is I would challenge you to ask someone to hold up a mirror to your life. Have them look at how you live, how you prioritize Jesus with your energy, attention, and time. This could be a close friend, a spouse, a family member. And again, if you're really ambitious, ask your kids, what do I love the most? And I think they'll tell you. Pray with me real quick. God, to be honest, I don't have anything else to say. I think you said it. Just want to leave this time, just this moment, to open up just some space that we can tell you if this is worth it or not. God, thank you that you're gracious enough to just be honest with us. We give this time to you. Amen.
Amen. This morning we get to partake in a meal called communion. We do this on the first Sunday of every month, and so our ushers are